It's Monday Mailbag, and we're hearing from you on everything from my voice to poverty myths. My name is Brittany Page, and this is the Page Perspective. You may notice my sweatshirt. Let's just talk about that right off the bat. So it is from Autonomy News, which is a new independent media outlet that focuses specifically on a lot of reproductive justice issues. And as you can see, it says ACAB. And, you know, I think we all know what ACAB typically means, but in this case, it's over Anthony Comstock's face. And so it's ACAB, all Comstocks are bastards. And this is referring to the Comstock Act, which you've heard me talk about on this channel. It's the thing that conservatives want to try to use to ban the mailing of mifepristone. So I just want to kind of explain it up front so you know what's going on with the message that I'm trying to send, but make sure you're supporting Autonomy News, okay? I always ask to hear from you at the end of my segments because I'm just one person, and while I do my best to ensure that the stuff I put out is well researched and really acceptable to my perfectionist tendencies, there may be things that I miss that are important to include and things that I haven't considered, and that's where you come in. Whether it's comments or voicemails or emails or replies on social media, where you can follow me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, at Brittany Page. I take it all in and I filter it here to respond. And we've got some good ones today. And we're starting here with a comment from Deborah Murphy 1114. Quote, I've been meaning to comment on your show. I've become aware that most of the YouTube channels I subscribe to are run by white men, with only a few of them run by women or people of color. Part of it is because women creators have high girly voices or don't know how to calm down and speak professionally. They sometimes talk too fast or don't enunciate. You, however, speak in a calm, even tone, not too girly, not too fast. Your delivery is impeccable. I am HO. You sound educated and intelligent too. Though most of the female content creators I watch are intelligent, they just come across as nervous. And this was followed by further nice comments. And listen, I would love to just say thank you, Deborah, and move on because you gave me some really nice compliments. But I can't. We have to address this. And Deborah, I don't want you to take this as an attack because I think this came from a genuine place, but I think there's some underlying misogyny or internalized misogyny happening here because women are disproportionately facing an uphill battle where it relates to how their voices sound. And although Deborah says my voice is great, I get many comments from people telling me that it's grating. This is just one example from when I guest hosted for David Pakman last time, with someone writing that my voice is annoying and adding that I pander to the homeless. I don't know what that means, but I'll take it as a compliment. People also complain that I speak in a sing-songy tone. That's when I get a lot, or that I go up and register at the end of my words, blah, blah, blah. So this complaint is often directed at women for, as Deborah says, having a girly voice or not knowing how to calm down, which I don't really even know what that means. Many male commentators have made a living off of being loud and aggressive and certainly not calm. There are things that we find acceptable when it comes to men, even as we deride those qualities in women. And I think we need to kind of pause and reflect on why that is. And why should we interrogate the demographic makeup of our news consumption and what it is that may be preventing us from expanding our reach beyond a male or white male dominated creator network. We have a long way to go related to representation, and representation matters. According to the latest edition of the Global Media Monitoring Project report, quote, women make up half of the global population and yet just a quarter of those who are seen or heard in the news. This statistic has barely changed in the last 15 years, with a mere 9-point change in 30 years. So when we hear a girly voice and think that it's off-putting, could that simply be because we're so accustomed to and expect our news to be delivered by a man because they're dominating the field? I don't know, but I think we need to start getting this figured out because women are held to a different standard and it's preventing a level playing field. And you all play a role in this too by choosing which creators to watch and amplify. And there are many female content creators that do amazing work. Francesca Fiorentini, Ole Olerin, Emma Vigeland, just to name a few. And women, especially women of color, are at a disadvantage in getting their foot in the door in this white, male-dominated space. And I am not saying, don't watch men. Don't watch white men. I'm saying think about your media consumption habits. Who might be missing from the conversation? Which perspectives might be missing from the conversation? And what might be underneath your instinct to dismiss a person as unserious or unintelligent or not confident or not authoritative sounding? And if some of it is unaddressed bias, then we need to look at that because our inability to grapple with our biases and preconceived notions lands us in terrible places. So thank you for watching, Deborah. I appreciate your comment. I appreciate you accepting this and knowing it's not an attack. Okay, now some poverty myths with @DavidGray1515. Do you agree that adequate income is very much affected by personal choices, such as attending college or learning a skill? If you do nothing to better yourself, you will always make an insufficient amount. Sorry, that's just the facts. So, David, I think you're missing a lot here. Attending college and learning a skill is not going to prevent poverty, especially in a society that has allowed wealth inequality to run rampant, where wages have not kept up with inflation, where the latest data from 2023 tells us that nearly half of all American households are rent burdened. This means there are many millions of Americans spending more than 30% of their income on housing costs. I think this is surely going to be higher. This number will surely be higher next time we get data on this. But we're sold this idea that if we simply make the right choices and do things the right way, we can be saved from hardship. And I know it's scary to accept, but we have to accept the reality that that is the fragility of life. People get sick. People lose a spouse. People find themselves unable to work, unable to perform the skill that they went to school to learn to prevent poverty, and still find themselves unable to pay their bills. I would say, David, that it's important to deconstruct this impulse to rush to an individual blame orientation for problems that are easily tied to systemic issues. As we know, we have working homeless in this country. I interviewed the author of the book just this year on the working homeless. But if you don't want to go watch that entire thing, because it's a little long, let's look at this from the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. Quote, as many as 40 to 60% of people experiencing homelessness have a job, but housing is unaffordable because wages have not kept up with rising rents. There is no country or state where a full-time minimum wage worker can afford a modest apartment. At minimum wage, people have to work 86 hours a week to afford a one-bedroom. Even when people can afford a home, one is not always available. In 1970, the United States had a surplus of 300,000 affordable homes. Today, only 37 affordable homes are available for every 100 extremely low-income renter. As a result, 70% of the lowest wage households spend more than half their income on rent, placing them at high risk of homelessness when unexpected expenses such as car repairs and medical bills arise. So, David, many people have done the right thing and still found themselves in poverty. And we aren't even going to talk about like the kids who were told to go to school to learn to code, who were promised an easy six-figure job out of school, who now find themselves working at Chipotle because of AI. Another systemic issue. I mean, I don't talk about my own situation often, but neither of my parents graduated high school. My dad got his GED in prison the same year I graduated high school. I went to college and grad school using Pell Grants, and yes, also student loans while working. Sometimes in school, I would wake up before the sun came up, and I wouldn't get home until it was dark, juggling working, internship hours, and school, and I'm still paying off my student loans after trying to escape the cycle of poverty in my own family. I would never dream of sitting here and talking about personal choices when the extensive systemic failures that keep people trapped are the problem. And I hope that since you have found your way to my channel, David, that you will soon find your way to being right on this issue. Okay, and being right means agreeing with me, all right? We're on the same page? Okay. All right, next up is a comment from my video on Zohran Mamdani, New York City's next mayor, and his refreshing take on the alternatives for policing mental health crises. Freedom Fighter 4990 writes, quote, "Just a question. I never see reports of people with mental health issues stabbing someone or setting them on fire or pushing them out of a window on New York City buses. So can social services give mentally ill folks special passes that let them ride for free on the buses instead of the subways? I can't explain it, but I think the difference in crime stats by mentally ill on subways versus buses isn't just a fluke." So I'm going to suspend what my intuition is telling me about Freedom Fighter 4990. I'm going to treat this as a genuine question and try not to be a dick. Even though I'm getting just a little hint of disingenuous trolling, I'm going to set that aside and trust that we're all in the business here of looking for solutions and changing hearts and minds. You caught me on a positive day, okay? Let's take your logic just one step further, Freedom Fighter. Instead of funding free bus passes, what about homes? Why would we invest in yet another solution that offers more temporary, if we could even say that, fixes? People in homes are also committing violent acts, by the way, but our headlines are far more frequently dominated by violent acts that take place in public, even though those with mental illnesses are far more likely to be victims of violence than to commit acts of violence. So skip the special bus passes that would again offer some fleeting temporary shelter and invest in a robust public health infrastructure that employs mental health workers who can regularly meet with and engage those who are suffering in the streets, develop trusting relationships with them, and then the crucial part, actually have something to offer that isn't temporary. A shelter is temporary and restrictive. A bus pass would be maybe the most temporary thing I could imagine. Housing first policies, which I've talked about extensively on this channel, are the answer, not bus passes. I think we're going to end it here, though I appreciate every single one of you that chooses to come here and listen to what I have to say, and especially when you engage with the growing community of listeners that have built up around this channel. I can't say enough about how I value the thoughtful and respectful comments that show up below my videos. I mean, sure, sometimes men still call me a cunt, but it's nothing I haven't heard before, okay? I'm going to hear it again, all right? I'd love to hear from you on this. Please share your thoughts in the comments below, or call and leave me a fewer than 3-minute voicemail at 202-656-1509, or send an email to info@thepageperspective.com. Please support my work if you can by clicking the join button below for as little as $1.99 a month. If you are on a fixed income, if you don't have money left over at the end of the month, please do not even worry about becoming a channel member or supporting me. You can support me by clicking the subscribe button. That's free. You can support me by watching the video. Sometimes I get emails from people. They're like, I'm on a fixed income. I want to be a supporter. Do not even worry about it. Seriously. You can also support me by going to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Please follow me on social media, though. I'm at Brittany Page on Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram. As always, thank you for being here. Take care, and I'll see you next time.